yourself, and bear no burden on the Sabbath day, nor bring it in by the gates of Jerusalem. Neither carry forth a burden out of your houses on the Sabbath day, neither do you any work, but hallow you the Sabbath day as I commanded your father. But they obeyed not, neither inclined their ears, but made their necks stiff, that they might not hear, nor receive instruction. And it shall come to pass, if you diligently hearken unto me, says Yahweh, to bring no burden through the gates of this city on the Sabbath day, but hallow the Sabbath day, to do no work therein, then shall there enter into the gates of this city kings and princes, sitting upon the throne of David, riding in chariots and on horses, they and their princes, the men of Yehudah, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and this city shall remain forever. And they shall come from the cities of Judah, and from the places about Jerusalem, and from the land of Benjamin, and from the plain, and from the mountains, and from the south, bringing burnt offerings, and sacrifices, and meat offerings, and incense, and bringing sacrifices of praise unto the house of Yahweh. But if you will not hearken unto me to hallow the Sabbath day, and not to bear burden, even entering in at the gates of Jerusalem on the Sabbath day, then will I kindle a fire in the gates thereof, and it shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem, and it shall not be quenched.
Our next selection today is Glory, Glory. Please join in.
many times a lot of people are concerned with things that are happening all over the United States, as a matter of fact, all over the world. But to me, that's Yahweh's business. And I'm the type person, I don't like to be busybodies in other men's matters. However, there comes a time when there's going to come a time when all of the brothers and sisters that hear this word and understand it are going to have to come together under the bond of unity of the Spirit. But this will only happen once we get out of this bondage that we're in, because truly, as long as we're in this bondage, man's going to do what he wants to do. As man always has done what man wanted to do, and it has always caused man a very serious problem. In societies of today, there are two words uttered from the lips of mankind that man has no knowledge how to achieve. And those words are peace and love. A study of biblical and secular history proves that centuries of conflict and suffering has been brought about due to man's pursuing the will of self, and man has yet to obtain the right or just results. Instead, self-will has contradicted spiritual law given man and nature of right action, and renders impossible the peace and love that man seeks. When we consider the laws of the physical universe, it is clear that creation's law are self-enforcing.
Amen.
And one day, Yahweh's law is going to be self-enforcing. Because we know and have read that righteousness is going to be the stability of those times. Do people reject the laws of gravitation, momentum, of friction? No. They try as hard as they can to conform to these things. However, Yahweh's social law for mankind is equally unyielding and requires the same respect for cooperation. It also shows that people unknowingly cause their wrong results. And by changing their motivation to embrace social law, they can obtain the right results. History has also shown that no motive of mankind, no matter how noble it may seem to be, has accomplished more than ultimately to result in continuing conflict with his Creator. But man is quick to believe in his heart that certain things pertaining to his person gives him the right to do or not to do, just as his father Satan believed. Truth is the only rights that are given to mankind and are the laws of Yahweh given in the covenant of salt at Sinai, not to be added to nor taken away from, regardless to the situation and circumstances. But I'll tell you what let us do. Let us go ahead and lay the foundation that Yahweh has laid and see what we can come up with. Brother Steve, read the oracles of the church and invite him who stands at the door that he may come in and sup with us and us with him, that we may continue to read out of this great legacy and consider what we read, that we might do what's necessary to be saved.
I'm going to read the oracles of the church beginning in 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins.
Amen.
Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man have received a gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim giveth, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yeshua HaMashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, by whom you are sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim, for the anointed one's sake, have forgiven you.
Amen.
Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as dear children, and walk in love, as the anointed one also have loved us, and have given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you, as becometh saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks.
Amen.
Revelation chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame, and am set down with my Father in his throne. He that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
Amen. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the church in Holy Convention. I'd like to start our class today in Genesis 28, and we're going to read verse 10 through verse 19. Genesis 28 and verse 10 through verse 19.
Genesis chapter 28, verses 10 through 19.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 10. And Yaakov went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took up the stones of that place and put them for his pillows, and lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of Elohim ascending and descending on it. And behold, Elohim stood above it and said, I am Yahweh Elohim of Abraham thy father, and the Elohim of Esau. The land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in you and in your seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed.
In you, the seed that was going to spread abroad to the whole earth, and in the Messiah, that other seed, shall all of the families of the earth be blessed, right? Mm-hmm. People don't seem to consider that today. What people think about us is that we ain't good for nothing. But the blessings that they receive comes only through the house of Israel. Paul told you, said, Israel was given the covenants, the promise, the service, the giving of the law. Everything was given to the house of Israel to do. But what mankind decided he wanted to do was this. Mankind decided he didn't want to deal with God. See? Mankind want to deal with his father, the devil. You know why? His father, the devil, grants him the liberties that he wants. Go ahead and read, brother.
Genesis chapter 28, verse 15. And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land. For I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. And Yaakov awaked out of his sleep, and he said, Surely Elohim is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid and said, How dreadful is this place! This is none other but the house of Elohim, and this is the gate of heaven.
Listen to what he said now. He said, this is none other than the house of Elohim, and this is the gate of heaven, right? Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 18. And Yaakov rose up early in the morning, and took the stone that he had put for his pillows, and set it up for a pillar, and poured oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel, But the name of that city was called Luz at the first.
Okay, Bethel means what? The house of Elohim, right? Okay, my brother. Let's go to Genesis chapter 32, and we're going to pick that up at verse 24 through chapter 33 and verse 20. Genesis chapter 32 and verse 24 through 33 and verse 20. Now, what had happened was that Jacob had you know what happened between Jacob and Esau about that blessing. And Jacob had been separated from his brother Esau for a while, and he thought that maybe Esau still had this wrath in him, right? So when he went to when Yahweh told him, said, look, you leave here and go to a land I'm going to show you, he knew he had to pass through Esau's land. So what he did was this. In his walk of faith, what he did was he gathered up a lot of his flock and sent them on as presents to his brother, right? Bribes. That's what they were. Bribes. Beware of Greeks bearing gifts. Folks will come to you today and say, brother, I got a gift for you here. And 2 days later, they're on your neck and want to try to cut your throat. See? Beware of Greeks bearing gifts. And we got Greeks right here in this congregation. Genesis 32, and put that up at verse 24.
And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh. And the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me.
The angel couldn't get away from him, could he? See? It shows you the power that Jacob had with God, right? And this is the same power that Israel has with God today. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 27. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince have thou power with Elohim and with men, and have prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, why is it that you do ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen Elohim face to face, and my life is preserved. And as he passed over Peniel, the sun rose upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. Therefore the children of Israel eat not of the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh, until this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh in the sinew that shrank.
Okay, brother, pick that up at verse 17, chapter 33 and verse 17.
And Jacob journeyed to Succoth and built him an house and made booths for his cattle. Therefore the name of the place is called Succoth.
Succoth. The name of the place was called booths, right? Because he built what? Cattle, houses for his cattle, right? Go ahead, brother.
And Jacob came to Shalem, a city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, which he came from Pandanaram, and pitched his tent before the city. And he bought a parcel of a field where he had spread his tent at the hand of the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. And he erected there an altar and called it Elohim Israel.
Elohim Israel, right? Okay, brother. Now let's go into chapter 35 and read verse 1 through verse 15.
And Elohim said unto Jacob, arise, go up to Bethel.
Go on up to Bethel. See? Now he sent Abraham to Mount Moriah, didn't he? And he told Jacob, said, now look, he done sent Jacob to Bethel a couple of times. Said, now look, you go up to Jacob, up there to Bethel, right? Go ahead.
And dwell there, and make there an altar unto Elohim that appeared unto thee when thou fled from the face of Esau thy brother. Then Jacob said unto his household and to all that were with him, put away the strange gods that are among you, and be clean, and change your garments.
Put away all these strange gods, right?
Mhm.
Now we know that Rachel had already stole her father's gods, right? And she didn't steal. I don't think the sister stole them to worship them. I think she stole them because if you go read the story and see what had happened, I've heard it said that these people here, they were just offering their paganism. But if you read the story and see what had happened, the sisters told Jacob, said, look, we have no more inheritance in our father. He done took all of our, he done used up all of our inheritance, right? So I'm going to take these gods here. You see? Okay, go ahead and read. I think that was the reason why she did it instead of worshiping those gods. Because I think that she worshiped the same God that her husband worshiped. Go ahead and read, brother.
Genesis chapter 35, verse 3.
Now, if anybody got a problem with what I said about what I think, I really don't care. Okay. Go ahead and read. And I don't want to hear nothing else about it either. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 3. And let us arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make there an altar unto Elohim, who answered me in the day of my distress, and was with me in the way which I went. And they gave unto Jacob all the strange gods which were in their hand, and all their earrings which were in their ears. And Jacob hid them under the oak which was by Shechem. And they journeyed, and the terror of Elohim was upon the cities that were round about them, and they did not pursue after the sons of Jacob. So Jacob came to Luz, which is in the land of Canaan, that is, Bethel, he and all the people that were with him. And he built there an altar and called the place El Bethel, because there Elohim appeared unto him when he fled from the face of his brother. But Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried beneath Bethel under an oak, and the name of it was called Alon Baku. And Elohim appeared unto Jacob again when he came out of Pandanaram and blessed him. And Elohim said unto him, thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel.
Now, if you want to know who this is that he's talking with, what you need to do is go and read Hosea 12 and verse 4. Read Hosea 12 and verse 4. You're going to read many times. It's going to say, and Elohim appeared unto Israel, unto this person. And Elohim appeared unto that person. But when you do research, you're going to find out that it was one of the angels that appeared. Right. You see, the representatives of Yahweh do what? They do things in his stead. Just like the priests of Yahweh are what? They are ambassadors of the Messiah, right? So what do? They act in his stead, right? Okay. Go ahead and read, bro.
Verse 11. And Elohim said unto him, I am Elohim Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins. And the land which I gave Abraham and Esau, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed after thee will I give the land. And Elohim went up from him in the place where he talked with him. And Elohim set up a pillar in the place where he talked with him, even a pillar of stone. And he poured a drink offering down, and he poured oil down. And Jacob called the name of the place where Elohim spoke with him, Bethel.
He called that place Bethel, right? The house, the gates of heaven, and the house of God, right? Now, in Genesis chapter 28, verse 10 through 19, the blessing of Esau began to make itself manifest upon Jacob at Bethel, right? The gates of heaven are the house of God. Plus, at Bethel, let's go and read that. Read chapter, go back to chapter 33, brother, and read verse, pick that up at verse 19, verse 18 through verse 20.
And Jacob came to Shalem, a city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Pandanaram, and pitched his tent before the city. And he bought a parcel of a field where he had spread his tent at the hand of the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. And he erected there an altar and called it lo he Israel.
Now, as we see, we're laying foundations. Understand that now. Not only is Elohim called the great El of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but for the very first time, he's made manifest as who? The Elohim of Israel. Very significant. The Elohim of Israel. Remember, Abraham was promised that he was going to be the father of many nations, right? Look at the sons he had. And these sons were nations, right? So he was truly the father of many nations. But what Yahweh has done now, he's separated Jacob and his family from all of those other nations. This is why he's called for the first time the Elohim of Israel. Now, from the time that our father's name was changed to Yisrael, Yisrael began to walk a walk of faith as is expected of a prince, as were his fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is why the Messiah said, many is going to come and sit down in the kingdom of Abraham, with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because Yahweh is not the God of the dead, but of the living. This is why we can number those four of our forefathers among the 24 elders, right? As we see, O house of Judah, now the foundation was laid upon which all the blessings to be given the nation would rest upon. No ifs, no ands, no buts, and no way you can circumvent them, and no way they could be changed, right? Okay, let's go into Genesis 37 and verse 1. And we're going to read up through 41 and verse 36. Genesis 37 and verse 1.
And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose and also stood upright. And behold, your sheep stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheep. And his brethren said to him, Shall you indeed reign over us? Or shall you indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me.
Now, when you get in Revelations 12, what do we see? We see a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars upon her head, right? Joseph was the 12th star, right? Israel has always been represented in heaven. Before Israel was represented in heaven, before the creation of the earth. Well, because Yahweh had plans for this earth, and the way he planned it would be how? Through the saving and the salvation and the choosing of the children of Israel. That's why you're slaves today. When Yahweh comes, what a gracious time that's going to be. I mean, we really going to rejoice, right? And like the scripture said, we're going to loathe ourselves in our own eyes because of the thing that we have done in the past. You know why? Most of us like to walk around thinking we more righteous than everybody else. Right? Okay. But understand one thing, regards to how righteous you think you are, remember that you heard the word first from the priest of Israel. Understand that. You didn't think about none of this, and you never dreamed about it until you came to the priest of Israel, right? Don't boast against the branch. Go ahead and read, brother. You already know what he's doing. You don't like it, I don't care. Go ahead and read, brother.
Genesis chapter 37 and verse 10. And he told it to his father, and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall I and your mother and your brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to you to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but Israel observed the saying. And his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said unto Joseph, Do not your brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send you unto them. And he said to him, Here am I.
Right, he hung around the house all the time. See, he said, Ain't your brothers down there feeding the flock? So you come on here, I'm going to send you down there with them, John. Go ahead and read, bro.
Verse 14.
Hanging out around here, you ain't going to get nothing hanging out around here. I mean, I love you, but you got a job to do. Go down there with your brothers. See? But if he knew what was in store for him, he wouldn't have sent him because of his love for him. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 14. And he said to him, Go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem.
Verse 18.
And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, Behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him and cast him into some pit, and we will say, Some evil beast have devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dream.
Have y'all noticed that most of the holy men of God, folks, are always fought against, and always try to persecute? What's the reason for that? You know why? They want to be in the stead. Go ahead and read.
Verse 21. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, Let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hand, to deliver him to his father again. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him, and they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Yehudah said unto his brethren, What profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, and let us sell him unto the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him. For he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. Then there passed by Midianites, merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver.
Now remember, Joseph was also sold, wasn't he? For 20 pieces of silver, right? Go ahead and read.
Verse 29. And Reuben returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. And he returned unto his brethren and said, The child is not, and I, whither shall I go?
Right. Well, what am I going to do now? I'm the oldest brother, right? Now, the brother's in my charge because I'm the oldest brother. Now he's not. Now, where am I going to go? Huh? What am I going to do now? Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 31. And they took Joseph's coat and killed a kid of the goats and dipped the coat in the blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father and said, This have we found. Know now whether it be thy son's coat or no.
Now, these some vicious brothers, aren't they? See? But yet still, they family. They blood, aren't they? But you see how vicious they are? Why? Because of jealousy and envy. Go ahead and read, brother. Didn't they know that the firstborn was going to inherit all things anyways? But see, we know what happened. The firstborn had went and laid with Jacob's wife, right? With his concubine, right? And Jacob heard of it, right? So he took that blessing from that brother. It just goes to show you can lose. You can lose the authority that you have in the family. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 33. And Israel knew it.
That's why I tell you, this is why I tell y'all, you may be a hammer today, but tomorrow I may not need a hammer. I might need a screwdriver. Because I tell you, you ain't no hammer no more, ain't no sense in getting mad. Because you're going to be a screwdriver, you're going to leave here. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 33. And Israel knew it and said, it is my son's coat, and evil beasts have devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces. And Jacob rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his loins and mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but Israel refused to be comforted. And he said, for I will go down into the grave until my son mourning. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and a captain of the guard.
39 and 1.
And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hand of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And Elohim was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that Yahweh was with him, and that Yahweh made all that he did to prosper in his hand.
Haven't y'all noticed that everything this congregation, I sanction that this congregation put their hands to, it prospers? Mm-hmm. If you don't think so, look around. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 4. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him. And he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put into his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that Yahweh blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of Yahweh was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not all that he had save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me. But he refused, and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master knoweth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I. Neither have he kept back anything from me but you, because you are his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against Elohim?
Not just sin against you. How can I do this great wickedness? He wasn't concerned about the man. He said, how then can I do this great wickedness and do what? Sin against my Elohim, right? Okay, so we know the story of what happened. Every time Joseph come into the house every day, here she come. Man, come on, lie with me. See? Yeah, man, you got it. Come on, take care of this business. See? The brother refused, ran out the house. She pulled his coat off him, and then she screamed and told the people, this Hebrew you brought in here, he came in here to mock me. He tried to rape me and so forth. So Potiphar put Joseph in prison, and he stayed in prison, and some people in the prison, the butcher and the baker, had a dream. And Joseph interpreted these dreams, and these dreams came out just as they were supposed to come out, just as Joseph had interpreted these dreams, right? So they let the, I think it was the baker. No, it wasn't. It was the butler. They let the butler out of prison, cut the baker's head off, right? Let the butler out of prison, gave him his position back, and Joseph had told him, said, now you remember me. You see, but the brother, he got out, man. He was so elated. He forgot all about Joseph. You know how we do when we get out of jail. Them folks in jail, we forget about them folks. Man, I ain't going back up there. They might pick me up and put me in jail for something. You see, that's the main reason why I used to wouldn't go to jail, because every time I went to visit somebody, give a couple of days, I'd be in jail. So, but anyways, what had happened was, like I said, the butler got his position back, but he forgot about Joseph. 2 whole years he forgot about Joseph. But let's see what happened. Pick that up at 41 and verse 1, brother. Sure. They had sin. They knew what sin was back in the beginning of things. If you read the book of Job, You can see that man knew what sin was. Man just said, Yahweh had just not enjoined the law to one people, to any people, you see. But man knew what sin was. Man knew what was right and what was wrong. You're absolutely right there, my sister. Go ahead and read 41 and verse 1.
And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine and fat flesh, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kines came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean flesh, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and lean flesh kine did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh awoke, and he slept and dreamed the second time, and behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 thin ears, and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled. And he sent and called for all the Egyptians of Egypt, and all the wise men thereof, and Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. You're doing the same thing here Ronald Reagan did, huh, brother? Go get those astrologers, huh?
Right. And a lot of folks that we know, they go and call a psychic. Yeah. Oh, the psychic. More money than the old 2 or 3 phone companies. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Then spoke the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. Pharaoh was wroth with his servants, and put me in ward and the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker. And we dreamed a dream in one night, I and he. We dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was there with us a young man, an Hebrew, servant to the captain of the guard. And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dream. To each man according to his dream he did interpret. And it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so it was. Me he restored unto mine office, and him he hanged. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon, and he shaved himself and changed his raiment, and came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of you that you can understand a dream to interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. Elohim shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace.
Amen. Elohim, not me. I'm going to interpret the dream for you, but understand, it's not me that's interpreting this dream. It's who? It's my Creator that's interpreting this dream, right? Verse 28. Pharaoh told Joseph the dream, and let's see what happened. Go ahead, verse 28, brother.
This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What Elohim is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. And there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following, for it shall be very grievous. And for that the dream was double unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by Elohim, and Elohim will shortly bring it to pass. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Pharaoh. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years. And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, Can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the spirit of Elohim is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, For as much as Elohim have shown you all this, there is none so discreet and wise as you are. You shall be over my house, and according unto your word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than you. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, See, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand, and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestes of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck.
Okay, so we know that what he did was made Pharaoh the second ruler in Egypt. Joseph, rather. Thank you, brother. Joseph ruled Upper Egypt, and Pharaoh ruled Lower Egypt. So anyways, what had happened was, eventually there was a famine in the land. And in this famine, Jacob sent his sons down to Egypt to buy corn.
Mm-hmm.
And Joseph recognized his brothers, but his brothers didn't recognize him. So Joseph played a few little games on them and so forth and so on. But eventually, he made himself manifest to them, and he told them, said, look, go down there, take these wagons and all this stuff, and you go down there and you bring your father and all his substance into Egypt, because Yahweh has sent me forth to prepare this thing for you. So Jacob went down into Egypt, and at this time, when he got down into Egypt, it was only 70 people in our whole nation. 70 people in our whole nation. And when Jacob went into Egypt, that began the 430 years of captivity. But let's pick this up at Genesis 49 and verse 1 through verse 33. Genesis 49 and verse 1 through verse 33. A lot of people like to say that even in the New Testament, when Paul and one of the other apostles were talking about that 400 years, they talked about that as 400 years. But see, in Genesis 15:13, it says, "Know of a surety that your seed will be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and will serve them, and be afflicted for 400 years." And our people were not servants, and they weren't afflicted for 400 years, because Joseph lived 110 years. And we know that many years he ruled in the land of Egypt. See, so it couldn't have been 430 years, that 400 years, because it was more than 30 years that Joseph ruled. Go ahead and read, brother.
Genesis chapter 49, verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Gather yourselves together, and hear, you sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, you shall not excel, because you went up to your father's bed. Then defileth thou it. He went up to my couch. Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. O my soul, come not thou into their secret. Unto their assembly, mine honor, be not you united. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they dig down a wall.
In their anger they slew a whole lot of men. But see, like the brother said, should that Hamite deal with our daughters, with our sister, as with a harlot? See, so they figured they had reason to do that. But what happened was this: Jacob was there in the land, and the Canaanites was around him, and he said, "Man, look here, you making me stink before these folks here, man. Now it ain't but a few of us, and all these people here, they come down here and kill us all off." But go ahead and read, brother.
Genesis chapter 49, verse 7.
And besides, Yahweh said, "Vengeance is mine; I will repay." But see, we don't think about things like that. We quick to seek, well, so-and-so did this to me, I'm going to do this, or I ain't going to do that, right? Show me that written in the law. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 7. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob, and scatter them in Israel. Yehuda, you are he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee.
And we know that truly Judah became the ruling people in Israel, right? But in the beginning, it wasn't so. In the beginning, a Benjamite ruled, right? Now, when you go back and read and see what happened when Benjamin was born, Rachel died, right? And she called him Ben-Oni, right? Meaning son of my sorrow, right? But his father called him son of my right hand, right? Didn't he dwell in the tents of Judah? Okay. Go ahead and read, brother. That's why the scripture said, and Ramah was heard weeping and supplication. Rachel weeping for her children. Not Leah. Rachel weeping for her children, which were not. And she refused to be comforted, right? Why? Because when the Babylonians came upon the land of Israel, Benjamin was the first one that was destroyed. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 9. Yehuda is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, you are gone up. He stooped down. He couched as a lion, and as an old lion. Who shall rouse him up?
Now, but he's a lion's whelp. See? He's a lion's whelp. But what he did, he crouched down like a lion, like an old lion, right? Who's going to bother him? Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 10. The scepter shall not depart from Yehuda, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, unto Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be.
Okay, brother, you got to read that for me.
Okay.
For me again, if I get these batteries up to pop. Yeah. Go ahead.
Verse 10. The scepter shall not depart from Yehuda, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, unto Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be.
Now, who would Shiloh be? The lion of the tribe of Judah, right? The old lion of the tribe of Judah, the ruling lion of the tribe of Judah, right? But yet and still, that lion's whelp is going to do what? Be the governors of this earth. That's your job. See? This is why you're being trained in the things that you need to do right now. When we go out into the wilderness, who do you think it is that's going to be teaching the word of God to the people? It's you, right? So sit in your seat and be trained. If you don't like the training here, don't boast against the branches. Go somewhere else and get trained. Or go somewhere and start you something and train somebody. That's all you got to do. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 11. Binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass coat unto the choice vine, he washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes. His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk. Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for an haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Sidon. Issachar is a strong ass couching down between two burdens. And he saw that rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute.
Right, he became a servant to the land, didn't he? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 16. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel.
Samson came out of Dan. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 17. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, and adder in the path that biteth the horse heel, so that his rider shall fall backward. I have waited for thy salvation, O Yahweh. Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. Out of Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. Naphtali is an hind let loose. He giveth goodly words. Yosef is a fruitful bow, even a fruitful bow by a well, whose branches run over the wall. The archers have sorely grieved him and shot at him and hated him.
Talk about his brothers now. Go ahead.
Verse 24. But his bow abode in strength, and the arms of his hand were made strong by the hands of the mighty Elohim of Jacob. From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel.
From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. We're going to cover that so you understand what that means. Go later on. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 25. Even by the Elohim of thy father who shall help thee, and by the Almighty, who shall bless thee with the blessings of heaven above, blessing of the deep that lieth under, blessing of the breast and of the womb. The blessings of your father have prevailed above the blessings of my progenitors unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren.
Amen.
Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. In the morning he shall divide the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel. And this is it that their father spake unto them, and blessed them. Every one according to his blessing he blessed them. And he charged them and said, I am to be gathered unto my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field of Ephron the Hittite for a possession of a burying place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife, and there I buried Leah. The purchase of the field and of the cave that is therein was from the children of Heth. And when Jacob had made an end of commanding his sons, he gathered up his feet into the bed and yielded up the ghost, and was gathered unto his people.
Okay, my brother, chapter 15, verse 15. Mighty, mighty man had died. Our father had died. So it was a great mourning because of this. The mourning was greater than any that had ever been known because of this brother here. Why? Because he was a prince with Yahweh. Go ahead and read, brother.
And when Joseph's brethren saw that their father was dead, they said, Joseph will peradventure hate us, and will certainly requite us all the evil which we did unto him. And they sent a messenger unto Joseph, saying, Your father did command before he died, saying, So shall you say unto Joseph, Forgive, I pray thee now, the trespass of your brethren and their sin. For they did unto thee evil, and now we pray thee, forgive the trespass of the servants of Elohim, of the Elohim of your father. And Joseph wept when they spake unto him. And his brethren also went and fell down before his face, and they said, Behold, we be thy servants. And Joseph said unto them, Fear not, for am I in the place of Elohim? But as for you, you thought evil against me, but Elohim meant it unto good, to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive.
Amen.
Now therefore, fear you not. I will nourish you and your little ones. And he comforted them and spoke kindly unto them. And Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's house, and Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the third generation. The children also of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were brought up upon Joseph's knees. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I die, and Elohim will surely visit you and bring you out of this land unto the land which he swore unto Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, Elohim will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from hence.
Don't even leave my bones in this land. When y'all get out here, take my bones with you. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 26. So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt.
So we know that from from the time that from 1706 to 1689, a period of 93 years, we know that Israel was not in bondage during that time, don't we? Okay. Surely Israel is and has always been the true church. But let us consider the various types which arose from among our people. Esau, the beloved of his father, was in a figure received again from the dead, as was the Messiah. And remember, Joseph was sold for 20 pieces of silver, right? The Messiah was sold for 30 pieces of silver, right? By who? His own brother. Joseph was also a special object of affection of his father's love. So was the Messiah. Both Joseph and the Messiah made superior claims before their brothers, right? Joseph said, look, I'm going to rule over y'all. And Christ said, look here, everybody going to come and bow down before me, right? I am the King of Israel, right? King of the Jews, right? Both were rejected by their brothers. Both were conspired against by their brothers. Joseph was in tent and figure slain by his brothers, and both became a blessing among the heathen. Plus, as Joseph forgave and reconciled his brothers to himself, and afterwards exalted them, so will the Master do to his brothers and sisters of the house of Israel, or El Bethel. That's who you are. You Bethel. You the house of God. What these things show is that truly the Master is the bread of... I'll tell you what let's do. Let's go read that first. Let's go into St. Matthew 14 and verse 15 through chapter 15 and verse 14. St. Matthew 14 and verse 15 through chapter 15 and verse 14. When we first came through here, we laid things down to show you who Israel was, right? Now we coming back into here and showing you why Israel was like this. Each time I try to come through here, I try to come through it in a different manner to give it to you on a different level. But you know what folks sit around and say? We read that before. Right. That's why you still a dummy. I go back up in the book of Genesis. Every time I go back up in the book of Genesis, I pick up stuff new, right? Something new to talk about, not about what y'all doing. I see what y'all doing. See? I see what you're doing. You're trying to serve the true and living God the best way you can. And I can look around here and see the results, too. Where you at, man?
Matthew chapter 14, verse 15.
14, 15. Yeah, Matthew 14, 15 through 15, 14.
And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, This is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away, that they may go into the villages and buy themselves victuals.
Still thinking on that natural level, weren't you? Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 16. But Yeshua said unto them, They need not depart. Give you them to eat.
I'm the bread of life. They don't need to go nowhere. Where's your faith? Go ahead and read.
Verse 17. And they say unto him, We have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes. He said, Bring them hither to me. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the grass, and took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes. And looking up to heaven, he blessed and broke, and gave the loaves to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did all eat, and were filled. And they took up the fragments that remained, 12 baskets full.
He didn't tell the people, say, look, bring me the bread, and then tell everybody, say, okay, y'all line up and come out here and get this bread. What did he do? He said, here, y'all give it to him. Right? He took the blessing, he blessed it, and then he gave it to who? He gave it to his ambassadors, right? And told them, said, look, you give it to him. Y'all to be the judges in Israel, so you feed them. You be the servant. Go ahead and read, brother.
It also shows you the order of things, where God had things set up.
It's always been an order of things. Folks, niggas just like to kick against the pricks, that's all. That's why we're slaves. Yeah, go ahead and read.
Verse 21. And they that had eaten were about 5,000 men, beside women and children.
So when it said that he fed 5,000 people, we know that that was a lie. He fed more than 5,000 people. It was 5,000 men besides women and children. Go ahead and read. Of course, that was a small number. What was that? A tenth of what was fed when they came out of Egypt. It was 500,000 men that came out of Egypt that had been fed with the Passover, right? And we have a tenth of that here, don't we? Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 22. And straightway Yeshua constrained his disciples to get into a ship and to go before him unto the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the 4th watch of the night, Yeshua went unto them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit. And they cried out for fear. But straightway Yeshua spoke unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Adonai, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Yeshua. But when he saw the wind boisterous,
but when he saw that something was contrary to him, right? This is what he did. He had faith to step out there on faith, right? But when he saw that things was contrary to him, what did he do? Go on and read, man.
Verse 30. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Adonai, save me. And immediately Yeshua stretched forth his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith, why did you doubt? And when they were coming to the ship, the wind ceased.
Right, he said, Oh, you of little faith, why did you doubt? Right? Why is it that we have people in this congregation that once we get things in order and get them going one way, they get to doubt it? They want to talk about it. Why? Why? Because they got little faith, right? They got little faith in this congregation. They may have faith in themselves, but they have little faith in this congregation. But they have to understand, you can't move without this congregation. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 32. And when they were coming to the ship, the wind ceased. Then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, Of a truth, you are the Son of Elohim. And when they were gone over, they came into the land of Gennesaret. And when the men of that place had knowledge of him, they sent out into all that country round about, and brought unto him all that were diseased.
Why? Because of their faith. They had heard of this brother, right? And because of their faith, they sent him out all through the countryside to all the people that had diseases and so forth, right? Why? Because of their faith. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 36. And besought him that they might not only touch the hem of his garment, and as many as touched were made perfectly whole.
And y'all do the same thing. Y'all come in here and get them publications and so forth, and y'all go out there and pass them all through the through the parks and through this city. For what? Showing people that surely we are the people of God, and Yahweh is the God of Israel, and whosoever grab onto the house of Israel, right? It shows the same faith that these people showed here. Go ahead and read, brother.
St. Matthew chapter 15, verse 1.
And remember, by grace you're saved through your faith. Okay. Go ahead and read. But you got to understand one thing. Show me your faith without your works, and I'll show you my faith because of the works. All they got to do is look around in the congregation. Go ahead and read, brother.
Then came to Yeshua scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do your disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. But he answered and said unto them, Why do you also transgress the commandment of Elohim by your tradition? For Elohim commanded, saying, Honor thy father and mother, and he that curses father or mother, let him die the death. But you say, Whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, It is a gift by whatsoever you might be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have you made the commandment of Elohim of none effect by your tradition.
By what you think and what you feel. You make the commandments of God of none effect, right? This is why Paul told you about striving about law and traditions and genealogies, which do what? Gender to strife. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 7. You hypocrites, well did he say prophesy of you, saying, This people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
What I think and what I feel, right? Go ahead and read, brother. This is the way I interpret things. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 10. And he called the multitude and said unto them, Hear and understand. Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, this defileth a man. Then came his disciples and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying?
Don't you know that you've offended these Pharisees, these lawyers, these people that know so much, so high and holy and so righteous? Don't you know that you offended them by your sayings? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 13. But he answered and said, Every plant
which my heavenly Father has not planted shall be rooted up. You have to ask yourself, what you do in this congregation, who appointed you to that? Huh? Yahweh didn't come here, and don't tell me Yahweh did it, because Yahweh didn't come here and pour one drop of oil on your head. And he didn't come to me one time and say, go pour some oil on that brother's head. Go ahead and read.
Verse 14. Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch.
Praise Yah. Now what these things show is
One
that...
more verse, Elder.
What? Verse 14. You read verse 14.
15 through 14. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You're right.
Okay. What these things show is that truly the Master is the bread of life and sustainer of those who hear and follow him. Not only so, but faith in his guidance to perform miracles in your walk as he saved you when you stumble, proves to you that truly the great El is on your side. Plus, those who have knowledge of him reverence the Master. But man must be taught these things by his servants. Galatians 4 and verse 1 through verse 17. Galatians chapter 4 and verse 1 through verse 17. Let's see. Galatians chapter 4 and verse 1 through verse 17.
Galatians chapter 4, verses 1 through 17. Now I say that the heir, as long as he is a child, differeth nothing from a servant, though he be Lord of all, but is under tutors and governors until the time appointed of the Father. Even so we, when we were children, were in bondage under the elements of the world. But when the fullness of the time was come, Elohim sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive the adoption of sons.
That we sent him for what reason? That we might receive the adoption of sons. We who? The followers. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 6. And because you are sons, Elohim have sent forth the Spirit of his Son into your hearts, crying, Abba, Father. Wherefore you are no more a servant, but a son. And if a son, then an heir of Elohim through the anointed
And a
one.
good piece of scripture to go to verify that is Colossians 2 in verse 1 and 2. Go ahead, brother. And then go back into Galatians 5 and pick it up at verse 12. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 8. Howbeit then, when you knew not Elohim, you did service unto them which are by nature are no God. But now, after that you have known Elohim, or rather are known of Elohim, how turn you again to the weak and beggarly elements whereunto you desire again to be in bondage? You observe days and months and times and years. I am afraid of you, lest I have bestowed upon you labor in vain. Brethren, I beseech you, be as I am, for I am as you are. You have not injured me at all. You know how through infirmity of the flesh I preached the gospel unto you at the first. And my temptation, which was in my flesh, you despised not nor rejected, but received me as an angel of Elohim, even as the anointed one, Yeshua. Where is then the blessedness you spoke of?
Where then is the blessing? If you did all of these things in the beginning, where now is the blessing that you spoke of? Huh? Go ahead.
For I bear you record that if it had been possible, you would have plucked out your own eyes and have given them to me. Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? They zealously affect you, but not well. Yea, they would exclude you that you might affect them.
Right. In the beginning, see, you ready to pluck out your eyes, right? Now folks running around zealously trying to affect you, right? That you may do what? Be affected by them. That you might hear that junk they be talking, right? Okay. Once some people claim to know the living Elohim, they, through knowledge that they've received through the efforts of the priesthood, they try to circumvent the works of the priest ordained by the Spirit, thinking themselves to be some great one. Then they become reckless and busybodies as they are given opportunity to build on another man's foundation and find fault with everything and everyone but themselves. You shall know them by their fruits. Ephesians 2, and verse 1 through verse 10. See, I know how to keep y'all out of my stuff. See, I don't do no saber rattling. Ephesians 2, verse 1 through verse 10. I keep telling y'all, if y'all don't like what I'm doing, get out of here. I got a job to do, and I'm not going to let you stand up and stand in my way. See, don't come up to me saber rattling. Saber rattling is for kids. I'm 61 years old. I've been in the Word 25 years. Got time for that junk. I got a job to do. If you don't like the job I'm doing, go. That's all you got to do. If you like the job I'm doing, get in one of these apartments, go to work. Stop grumbling. Ephesians 2, and verse 1 through verse 10.
And you have he quickened, who were dead in trespasses and sins, wherein in time past you walk according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience.
The spirit that works in who? The children of disobedience, right? Okay. Go ahead.
Verse 3. Among whom also we all had our conversation in times past in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature children of wrath, even as others, right? Every time you turn around, folks full of wrath. Don't you know that you can catch more ants with sugar than you can with a stick? Go ahead and read. Verse 4. But Elohim, who is rich in mercy, for his great love wherewith he loved us, even when we were dead in sins, have quickened us together with the Anointed One. By grace you are saved.
By grace you've been saved, right? By grace you are saved, right? We've been already quickened together with the Anointed One because we brought the Spirit, right? By grace you're saved. Don't take that grace for weakness, though. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 6. And have raised us up together and made us sit together in heavenly places in the Anointed One, Yahshua, that in the ages to come he might show the exceeding riches of his grace in his kindness toward us through the Anointed One, Yahshua. For by grace are you saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of Elohim.
It is the gift of Elohim that he sent a priest here to this city. By grace you are saved through faith and not of yourselves. Because if you were saved of yourself, you wouldn't nobody have to talk about the things I talk about. Go ahead and read.
Verse 9. Not of works, lest any man should boast. For we are his workmanship, created in the Anointed One, Yahshua, unto good works.
Don't y'all see good works? Huh? Go out there and pick up them publications out there. Folks walk around and say, man, this stuff here old. Not that that brother just came in the door.
Amen.
They're old to you because you read it once and you think you got it all. Go back and read it again. You might find something you missed. See? See? Because the priests are his workmanship created in an anointed one unto good work, which Elohim has before ordained that we should do what? Walk in those good works. Y'all can't tell me that the works we doing ain't good works. The scripture tell you, those that have rule over you, obey them, whose faith, follow their faith, right? If you don't like the works, get out the kitchen. Because there ain't one cook in here.
That's right.
There ain't going to be but one cook in here. Go ahead and read, brother.
That was it, brother.
Oh, you finished that?
Yes, sir.
Boy, that was quick. Before any of you even thought of the truth, the Spirit was here at NCCI. And this day, through the efforts of your priests, you and the works you've done in faith have brought forth an abundance of fruit. Fruit ready for the works yet to be done. So receive the engrafted word which is able to save your soul, and don't boast against the branch. Because you don't bear this branch, but this branch bear you. And as the time of our deliverance draws nearer, some considered to be choice fruit will be shook off of this branch. Why? For being puffed up and being busybodies in things that's not of your concern. Now, we know that Joseph was 17 years old when he was sold into Egypt, and it was 93 years afterwards when his rule ended, right? So like I said before, the 400 years of service and affliction could in no way be applied to that specific bondage that our people was in the land of Egypt, right? Exodus 1 in verse 1 through verse 16. Exodus 1 in verse 1 through verse 16. Exodus chapter 1 and verse 1 through verse 16.
Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Yaakov. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Yehuda, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Yaakov were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there rose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph.
Now, look at us today. The land is filled with us, right? Everywhere you go, we back to back on. Now, don't you know these people has already said, come on. Well, they started saying that during the Civil Rights Movement. Y'all, come on. These folks didn't think they smart. See? They sending people to school, getting a little education, right? Now they putting lawyers and everything up against us and so forth and so on. Come on and let's deal wisely with these people, right? What's happening to the black male? The black male is becoming extinct, right? Here, girl, take this $100,000 a year job. Put that nigga you got out. You don't need him. What you need him for? Right? He expects you to go to work and come home, wash and iron and everything. He gonna lay around and ain't gonna do nothing, right? Don't do. You ain't got to deal with that, right? And what is it doing? It's causing strife in our houses. Go ahead and read.
Question, brother.
Yeah.
I was just going to make a comment on that, too. Now they're trying to, well, they're in the process of getting rid of affirmative action, which is going to all the black women that they motivated to put up with their families. They're going to
Click.
put them out, too.
Right on the money. That's what it's all designed for. This is why they start talking about the white folks start kicking on that affirmative action a few years ago, right? Talking about it's reverse discrimination, right? So what they're doing again is they're reversing it back again. See, it's going to be many of us who's walking around with these high-paying jobs with our nose stuck up in the air, going to have your nose stuck to the grindstone. Then we're going to see what's going to happen. Yeah. Then we're going to see. See, y'all, let's understand one thing. Man is in the image and likeness of God. Man was given dominion from sea to sea. Right? Don't forget that. Because when we get that, we lose sight on our Creator. Because God, Yahweh, is the head of the Messiah. The Messiah is the head of man. Man is the head of woman. Let's not forget that. And we forget that real quick when we think that we are somebody. And then what we decide that we want to do is this. We decide that we want to do things like we want to do. I don't care what you say. I want to do things like I want to do them, right? But what does it do? Keep looking. Look at the things that come into your lives every week. And you'll find out something's wrong with this. Okay. Where you at now?
Exodus chapter 1, verse 8.
Okay, go ahead and read.
Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not yourself. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land.
Now, the United States know that Russia is going to come up in here like a big dog, right? Let us deal wisely with Jake here, because we know what we've done to Jake. And when Russia come up in here, what's going to happen? Jake might join on to the Russians, right? Man, Jake don't care which one of them ruling.
He's a homeborn slave. Ain't
Right. He don't care which one ruling. He'll be enslaved on either one of them. Don't make him no difference. When the Babylonians were in power, we hated the Babylonians, right? When the Medes and the Persians came in, we liked the Medes and the Persians because they came in and overthrew the Babylonians. Well, we still their slaves, weren't we? Okay. Once a slave, you're a slave, brother. Once Yahweh puts you in slavery, you can forget it. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 11. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens.
Right. You got to stay here. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Why have I got all of this work? This new taskmaster, right? What y'all keeping up all this work on me? I never will get caught up. Right. That's the idea. So when we get ready to get rid of you, we can say, well, we got rid of you because you couldn't get your work done.
Amen.
Of course, they got you doing the work of 4 or 5 people. Okay. But you couldn't get your work done. Okay. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 11. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithon and Ramesses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel.
Right. They grieved because, man, we got to get these folks off welfare, man. These folks having all these babies and everything, and we got to take care of them. Hell, you was taking care of all them other folks before black folks even found out what welfare was all about. So what's up with that? I mean, how many years you been working on your job, brother? How many years you working on your job? Over 20, right? All the taxes and everything you made, right? You paid taxes, you paid a whole lot of stuff you didn't even know you was paying, right? They just say, give me that money, and it's out your check, right? Well then, when you get old, don't you think it's up to them to give you that back? Huh? Okay. So what's wrong with it? But yet and still what they're trying to do is say this here, too many of y'all niggas on this welfare thing here, right? We got people, one family after another family after another family on welfare, right? Right. Because one man was a slave. He picked fruit to educate his child so his child can do better, right? And then this other one came up and he dug ditches, right? Then this other one came up, now he's a school teacher, right? Pass that money that started in the beginning, pass it right on down through the tribe. That's where it's supposed to go. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 13. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor.
Right, we don't do it in the field today. They got Hispanics to do that now. See, we do it we still on the plantation. Let me tell you something. IBM is a plantation, right? Coca-Cola is a plantation, right? Atlanta Dairies is a plantation, right? Any corporate structure, any of those Fortune 500 companies we work for, is what? A plantation, and you serve with rigor, don't you? Okay.
Yeah, if you don't think so, Coca-Cola got a bunch of minorities suing for discrimination, right, brother?
Brother, it's going to watch and see how that thing filter down till them judges get to saying, well, these people here ain't citizens. Read the Constitution of the United States.
But you know, Elder, I can kind of see where that trend is going. I'm watching on my job. They are coming up with a lot of erroneous things out of the office about they giving brothers raises, right? they want to leave, man, on the line, right?
Mhm.
That's to the cause. You know, I'm not in the union because I see what that's about, but that's the cause dissension. I can see where these jobs, they're doing that next door. I can see where these jobs are trying to get rid of the union. Once they get rid of the union, they can run us out of there.
Of course.
'Cause we cleave to that union, and they can get the choice. You know, the good Negroes like me that don't bother
Mhm.
say anything. They might keep one of us, but the ones that, you know, stand on breaks and won't come to work, I can see where they're going with that now.
Sure.
They're trying to get rid of that union. So
Sure.
they can run them out of these factories like Ford and General Motors
Right.
and all those places.
Right,
'Cause
because-
Israel is up in them plants now.
Because the union give you a voice.
Right.
They don't want you to have no voice. Why do you think that when the Kennedys went in office, the first thing they did was went after the largest union in America, the Teamsters Union, right?
Right.
And they never had the power since, has it? Okay. Okay. Go ahead and read.
Verse.
Got the Teamsters, then the Mafia controlling the Teamsters. Check that out.
But see, they've been crying about there's too many blacks on the job, bro.
Of course it is, man. Y'all coming out the yin-yang.
But we
Fuck
come
that.
through the temp service, though.
But see, the thing of it is this. Each people is supposed to support their own people.
That's true.
The
Right.
Hispanics come over here.
That's true.
100 of them stay in one room. Right? They get $10 per piece per week. The rest of that money, they put some of it in a box, and they send the rest of it back home to their families, right? What do we do?
Right. We really don't care to be around each other. Tell the
What do we
truth.
do? Right. Right. Put it on layaway. Right. Right. You can't put it on layaway. Give it to me on credit. I pay for it for 20 years. Don't make no difference. Just give it to me. I want to be like Mike. The Jones has got a brand new car today. And like the Temptations say, instead of us saying, hooray for the Joneses, you know what we want to do? We want to keep up with it. And then eventually we want to be the Joneses. It's coming down to a time, though, to when we're going to have to depend on each other, and that Jones junk going to be thrown out the window. And we can see it coming. But we have to ask ourselves this: what preparations are we making for it? See, our people, when you look around, our people aren't doing anything about preparing for this year, about being self-sufficient, about being a power to reckon with. You know what we thinking about? What kind of new car I'm going to get next year? I don't want that brother living too close to me. He think he's as good as me. Brother get a Explorer, here we come up with an Expedition. Brother get a Seville, here we come up with an Eldorado. See why? Trying to live beyond our means, owing our soul to the company store. But it's the American way. And aren't we Americans? Aren't we Americans?
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay.
You know
Okay.
that.
Okay. Go on and read, bro.
Verse 15. And the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shipra, and the name of the other Pua. And he said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then you shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live.
Now, they tried it with both the males and the females quite a few years ago. They came out with that birth control, right? But it just backfired, that's all. Just backfired. Now, it was some articles that was in the paper last year to where they were trying to make mothers on welfare take that shot. Wear that patch, right? Right. Same, what's the difference? Go on and read, bro. Chapter 2 and verse 1.
And there went a man of the house of Levi, and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived, and bare a son, and when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein. And she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the river's side. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child. And behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to you a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give you your wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moshe, and she said, because I drew him out of the water.
Verse 23, brother.
And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died. And the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came up unto Yahweh by reason of the bondage. And Yahweh heard their groaning, and Yahweh remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. And Yahweh looked upon the children of Israel, and Yahweh had respect unto them. Now Moshe kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and came to the mountain of Elohim, even to Horeb. And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And Moshe said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burned. And when Yahweh saw that he turned aside to see, Elohim called unto him out of the midst of the bush, and said, Moshe, Moshe. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Draw not near hither. Put off your shoes from off your feet, for the place whereon you stand is holy ground.
Amen.
And moreover, he said, I am the El of thy father, the El of Abraham, the El of Isaac, and the El of Jacob. And Moshe hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon Elohim.
He was afraid to look upon that angel, wasn't he?
Uh-huh.
Go ahead, brother.
Verse 7. And Yahweh said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. And I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them out of that land unto a good land, and a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, unto the place of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Now, therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is come unto me, and I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians oppressed them. Come now, therefore, and I will send you unto Pharaoh, that you may bring forth my children, my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. And Moshe said unto Elohim, Who am I, that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt?
Right, who am I? Man, in other words, wait a minute now. I killed that Egyptian. And y'all, you know, and I know what Pharaoh gonna do to me when I go back to Egypt. Who am I? Send somebody else, don't send me. Go ahead and read, bro.
Verse 12. And he said, Certainly I will be with thee, and this shall be a token unto thee that I have sent thee. When thou hast brought
Hold up,
forth...
brother.
Okay.
Okay. Come.
Verse 12. And he said, Certainly I will be with thee, and this shall be a token unto thee that I have sent thee. When thou hast brought forth the people out of Egypt, you shall serve Yah upon this mountain. And Moshe said unto Elohim, Behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and shall say unto them, The Elohim of your fathers have sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall I say unto them?
Which showed that the children of Israel, even though they were the objects of Yahweh's affection, they were the foundation, they didn't even know his name. Right. Just like today, brother. Ain't nothing changed. Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. Verse 14. And Elohim said unto Moshe, I am that I am.
My name is Yahweh. I am that I am. Go ahead and read, brother.
And he said, Thus shall you say unto the children of Israel, I am have sent me unto you. And Elohim said, Moreover unto Moshe, Thus shall you say unto the children of Israel, Yahweh Elohim of your fathers, the El of Abraham, the El of Isaac, and the El of Jacob have sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations.
Yahweh is my name forever, and being the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is my memorial unto all generations, right? Chapter 4 and verse 19.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe in Midian, Go, return into Egypt, for all the men are dead which sought thy life. And Moshe took his wife and his sons and set them upon an ass, and he returned to the land of Egypt. And Moshe took the rod of Elohim in his hand. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, When thou go up to return into Egypt, see that you do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in your hand. But I will harden his heart, that he shall not let the people go. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, Thus says Yahweh, Israel is my son, even my firstborn.
Israel is the first people that I brought unto me. He's my son. He's my firstborn, right? Wasn't Jacob what? A prince with Yahweh? Okay, go ahead.
Verse 23. And I say unto thee, Let my son go, that he may serve me. And if you refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay your son, even your firstborn.
And isn't the daughter of Babylon going to be the first one that's going to be slain? Huh? Why? Because the hard bondage and the murders and different things they've put upon Yahweh's firstborn. I don't mean the firstborn of the natural foundation that was laid. I mean the firstborn of the spiritual foundation that was laid in the blood of the Messiah. Chapter 7 and verse 1.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, See, I have made you a god to Pharaoh.
I made you a god. He's a man, right? He said, I made you a god to Pharaoh, right? Okay, go ahead and read.
And Aaron, thy brother, shall be your prophet.
Right, and brothers had the nerve to go up to Pharaoh, up to Moses, talking about, man, have you made yourself altogether a prince over us? No.
More than that, brother.
Yahweh did. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 2. Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his land. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt.
11 and 1. We know that Yahweh began to send a whole lot of plagues down there upon Pharaoh, right? Visiting the gods of Pharaoh, right? Okay, let's go ahead and pick this up at 11 and 1 and see what this final judgment is going to be.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Yet will I bring one plague more upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterwards he will let you go hence. When he shall let you go, he shall surely thrust you out hence altogether. Speak now in the ears of the people, and let every man borrow of his neighbor, and every woman of her neighbor, jewels of silver and jewels of gold. And Yahweh gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moshe was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants, and in the sight of the people. And Moshe said, Thus says Yahweh, About midnight will I go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sitteth upon his throne, even unto the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of beasts. And there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there was none like it, nor shall be like it any more. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that you may know how that Yahweh does put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. And all these your servants shall come down unto me, and bow down themselves unto me, said, Get thee out, and all the people that follow thee. And after that I will go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in a great anger. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. And Moshe and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh. And the Lord hardens Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go out of his land. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak you unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb.
Go ahead.
According to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house.
Now, what we're doing now, we've already set the first holy day that Yahweh put aside, and that was the Sabbath, right? Now we're going into the first holy day that was actually given to the children of Israel, which was what? Passover. Passover. And it's because of you attending upon the things that are taught to you and on that first day that was sanctified by Yahweh, that you understand what this Passover is all about. And what we're gonna do after we get through with this, we're gonna go ahead and correlate. As a matter of fact, Brother Steve, why don't we go ahead and correlate that now? Let's go ahead and correlate the last Passover, the last 4 Passovers of our captivity. Jeremiah 50 and verse 1 through verse 7. Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 1 through verse 7. Y'all can read the rest of that. That last scripture went up to 11 and 1 through chapter 12 and verse 20. The last scripture that Steve was reading on was chapter 11 and verse 1. It goes up through chapter 12 and verse 20. And then you go to Jeremiah 50 and verse 1 through verse 7.
Yirmiyahu chapter 50, verse 1. The word that Yahweh spoke against America and against the land of the Aryans by Jeremiah the prophet. Declare you among the nations and publish and set up a standard. Publish and conceal not. Say, America is taken. Baal is confounded. Merodach is broken in pieces. Her idols are confounded. Her images are broken in pieces. For out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast. In those days, and in that time, says Yahweh, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Yehudah together, going and weeping. They shall go and seek Yahweh, their Elohim. They shall ask the way to Zion with their faces thitherward, saying, Come, and let us join ourselves to Yahweh in a perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten.
And the reason why they're going to have to ask the way to Zion, because we don't even know. Go ahead and read, bro.
Verse 6. My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains.
On every mountain, right? All of these big-time religions that they got, there over there. All these big-time denominations they got, they've turned them away. These shepherds have turned them away to all of them, haven't they? You go down the street and meet 30 of us, and 29 of us go to different churches. Go ahead and read, brother.
They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place.
They have forgotten their resting place. You tell a brother, say, man, you came from Israel, man, you Jew. No. No, I'd be a copperhead moccasin before I be a Jew. I ain't no Jew. They've forgotten their resting place. Their resting place is the land of Israel. Go ahead now. Read.
Verse 7. All that found them have devoured them, and their adversaries said, We offend not, because they have sinned against Yahweh, the habitation of justice, even Yahweh, the hope of their father.
Okay, my brother, now let's go to Ezekiel 20 in verse 33 through verse 44. Ezekiel chapter 20 in verse 33 through verse 44.
Ezekiel chapter 20, verses 33 through 44. As I live, says the Lord God, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you.
Even though you done went into the nations and you done worship all these gods, right? You've been worshiping other gods for the past 2,000 years, right? He said, but surely with the mighty hand and with the outstretched arm and with my fury poured out, I'm going to rule over you. Go ahead, big brother.
Verse 34. And I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries wherein you are scattered, with a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face. Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, says the Lord God.
Right, and how did he plead with us in the land of Egypt? Through the dispensation, in the wilderness when we came out of Egypt, through the dispensation of angels, right? Okay, go ahead.
Verse 37. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant.
I'm going to cause you to pass under the rod, and I'm going to bring you under the bonds of this law covenant of peace and prosperity, right? And righteousness, right? Go ahead.
Verse 38. And I will purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel.
Right, I'm going to bring them out. I'm going to bring all of you out, right? But I'm going to purge out from among you all those rebels that won't come under this rod here, right? And we know ain't nobody going to just say, well, hey, you stand over here, you stand over there. Ain't the way it's going to be done. We're going to leave here with the wealth of this country, right? Brothers going to be out there. Whole lot of brothers ain't never heard the word. They're going to want to go into them cities. See, they're going to want to go and spend this wealth that they've acquired, in this, the gold and silver that they've acquired in this country. They're going to want to go and spend that in the hotels and live good, right? Right. Go ahead, buy it. Get on out from out here. Because Yahweh is dealing with he's making up his jewels now. Yeah, go ahead now. At least 3 jewels of his crown. Go ahead and read, brother.
Last part, 38. And you shall know that I am Yahweh. As for you, O house of Israel, thus says the Lord God, go you, serve you every one his idols, and hereafter also, if you will not hearken unto me. But pollute you my holy name no more with your gifts and with your idols. For in my holy mountain, in the mountain of the height of Israel, says the Lord God, there shall all the house of Israel, all of them in the land, serve me. There will I accept them, and there will I require your offerings and the first fruits of your oblations with all your holy things.
Right. There will I accept these things because my son is here, and he can't even go die no more now. So now we're going to have something to cover the sins of that great multitude of all nations, languages, and tongues in Revelations 7th chapter that I'm going to save, right? And how's it going to be done? Through sacrifice again. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 41. I will accept you with your sweet savor when I bring you out from the people and gather you out of the countries wherein you have been scattered. And I will be sanctified in you before the heathen. And you shall know that I am Yahweh when I shall bring you into the land of Israel, into the country for the which I lifted up mine hand to give it to your fathers. And there shall you remember your ways and all your doings wherein you have been defiled, and you shall loathe yourselves in your own sight for all your evils that you have committed. And you shall know that I am Yahweh when I have wrought with you for my name's sake, not according to your wicked ways, nor according to your corrupt doings, O you house of Israel, says the Lord God.
Amen. Not because of what you've done, because y'all ain't not, like Isaiah said, there's not one righteous. No, not one. There lived one just and perfect man upon this earth. And you know what happened? They kicked him out of the vineyard. Zechariah 13 and verse 8 and verse 9. Zechariah 13 and verse 8 and verse 9. Yes. Yes, sir. It's going to be Judah, the house of Judah, which is 3 tribes, Benjamin, Judah, and Levi. Benjamin, Judah, and Levi is over here. He can't take Judah out here and leave Levi and Benjamin. So he's going to take Benjamin, Judah, and Levi, and out of Benjamin and Judah and Levi, 2/3 of those 3 tribes is going to be cut off and die. Israel proper, the rest of the tribe, which was known as Ephraim, these tribes will be gathered after the Messiah comes. Go ahead, brother.
Zechariah chapter 13, verses 8 and 9. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, says Yahweh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Yahweh is my Elohim.
Zechariah 12 in verse 1 through verse 5. Zechariah chapter 12 in verse 1 through verse 5.
The burden of the word of Yahweh for Israel, says Yahweh, which stretches forth the heavens and layeth the foundation of the earth, and formeth the spirit of man within him.
Now understand, this is not a blessing now. This is a burden. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 2. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege both against Yehudah and against Jerusalem.
When they shall be in the siege both against Judah and Jerusalem, right? The prophet said, let gather the people, gather the children, right? And the women, right? And he said, you gather them into the city, let the priests, the ministers of Yahweh, weep between the porch and the altar and say, what? Spare your people, O God. For why should the people bear rule over them, right? The army is coming up to invade the city, and folks seeing this. And you know what our people are doing then? Gathering on the Temple Mount. Go ahead and read, brother.
Zechariah chapter 12, verse 3. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it.
Not some of the people. All of the people of the earth is going to be gathered together against Judah, right? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 4. In that day, says Yahweh, I will smite every horse with astonishment, and his rider with madness, and I will open mine eyes upon the house of Yehudah, and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. And the governors of Yehudah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength in Yahweh of hosts, their Elohim.
Go ahead and read, bro.
In that day will I make the governors of Yehudah like an hearth fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheep. And they shall devour all the people round about, on the right hand and on the left. And Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem.
This is the majestic white horse that Yahweh is going to ride into battle, right? Yes, Shabbat Shalom, my brother Daniel. Jeremiah 51 rather, and verse 14 through verse 33. Jeremiah 51 and verse 14 through verse 33.
14 through what?
33.
Oh, okay. Yirmiyahu chapter 51 verses 14 through 33. Yahweh of hosts have sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heavens by his understanding. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. Every man is brutish by his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are vanity, the work of errors. In the time of their visitation they shall perish. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. Yahweh of hosts is his name. You are my battle axe and weapons of war. For with you will I break in pieces the nations, and with you will I destroy kingdoms, and with you will I break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with you will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. With you also will I break in pieces man and woman, and with you will I break in pieces old and young, and with you will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. I will also break in pieces with you the shepherd and his flock, and with you will I break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen, and with you will I break in pieces captains and rulers.
Amen.
And I will render unto America and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, says Yahweh. Behold, I am against you, O destroying mountain, says Yahweh, which destroyeth all the earth. And I will stretch out mine hand upon you, and roll you down from the rocks, and will make you a burnt mountain. And they shall not take of you a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but you shall be desolate forever, says Yahweh. Set you up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kingdoms of Ariad, Menai, and Ashkenaz, upon a captain against her, cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Russians, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble in sorrow, for every purpose of Yahweh shall be performed against America, to make the land of America a desolation without an inhabitant.
Amen.
The mighty men of America have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holes. Their might have failed. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of America that his city is taken at one end, and that the passages are stopped, and the reeds they have burned with fire, and the men of war are frightened. But thus says Yahweh of hosts, the El of Israel, the daughter of Europe is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her. Yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come.
Amen and amen. As we see, brothers and sisters, Yahweh has some very great things prepared for you, O house of Judah, because you, Judah, will be saved first, because you will be Yahweh's lawgiver, the law that's written in Exodus 19 and chapter 19 and chapter 20. This law is the righteousness of Yahweh and contains justice for all which mankind rejects. Yet it is generally known that merely attempting to violate physics results in failure, injury, or death. But the will of the Creator is spelled out in nature's social law. Do what Yahweh says is right, and the results will be right. Express self-will, and disaster will follow. Do not be deluded by motives to be helpful, or by your own efforts to solve society's problem. That's Yahweh's job. That approach has been used for ages, with the results that antisocial violence now involves young teens and continues to proliferate for adults, right? People need to act on the motivation of the social law by rightly filling the needs of each situation that confronts them. Take action because, to the best of your ability, it is your intent to conform with nature's law of right actions, just as you conform with gravity, with the hard and with a hearty conscious thought. That is the way creation's plans can eradicate the billions of counterfeit plans that was born of self-will. It puts an end to the competition spawned by people trying to take control of their own lives. It establishes equality and singleness of purpose. It becomes increasingly clear that control of people's behavior is in nature's social law, for better or for worse. The formula for peace and love is always to take the right action. There are many ways to describe how the formula is applied, and it's applied through the book from Genesis to Revelation. Am I correct? Respond logically to every situation. Never react in jealousy or with anger. Be accountable for wrong results. And most important, abandon self-will and instead think, say, and do what Yahweh has commanded us to do in this law. Because truly, the foundation is laid, and if we do not attend to these things, O house of Israel, we shall not be saved. That's all I'm going to do today. Yahweh add a blessing to each and every one of you for spending the time to come in and listen to me right along. And may he have mercy upon us all. Do we have any announcements?